Hello, dear students. I welcome you all on behalf of Sri Jayendra Rangjon classes. Dear student, we are in a continuation of the chapter that is Biodiversity and Conservation, a class 12 chapter. And today we are going to discuss the different patterns of biodiversity. What is biodiversity? How it is differentiated? Where it is high? Where it is low? That all thing we have discussed in the previous class. And Earth and India biodiversity we have also discussed. But what is the pattern of biodiversity that we are going to discuss here in this topic? So the diversity of plant and animal is not uniform throughout the world, that we know very well, but sure rather uneven distribution of plant and animal. So that is not uniform. And there are many interesting patterns in diversity, like latitudinal, attitudinal, geographical, topographical, humidity gradient based, but most well known being the latitudinal gradient in diversity. Okay, so if we talk about the degree of biodiversity, it shows two master gradients. One is latitudinal and altitudinal. Latitudinal means on the land wise, okay, and altitude that is vertical. So that biodiversity, how it differs, that we have to understand. So first it is known that in latitudinal diversity is known that diversity decreases from a higher altitude. So altitude, but higher altitude, that is on mountain. Okay, from when we move from lower to higher altitude, when we go towards on the upper side of the mountain, you will not see the maximum diversity. So at the base, you will see the maximum diversity. So as we move from low to high, particularly altitude, you will see this decrease in the diversity. But if we talk about latitude wise, then biodiversity increases from high to low latitude. Okay. So if this is a mountain, here this is the altitudinal one. But if this is the earth, this is the equator. Okay. Then from low to high latitude, so it is a low altitude here to here it is high latitude. So towards the high altitude, towards the equator, you will see the, okay. So as we move from low to high latitude, that is from equator to the poles, sorry, it is a low here low to high, this way. Okay, here you will see low latitude to high latitude. So as we move from equator to the poles, the biodiversity decreases. But as we move from high to low latitude, from the poles towards the equator, biodiversity increases. Okay, and biodiversity decreases as we move from equator towards the pole. So in other words, the biodiversity is minimum in the Arctic regions, moderate in the temperate regions, and maximum in the tropical regions, that we can understand here. So biodiversity, we can write it is maximum in tropical region, moderate in temperate areas, and minimum in Arctic regions. Okay, so such a way you will see that the biodiversity is same. So now biodiversity minimum in Arctic, moderate in temperate, and maximum in region, it is written here already. Okay, now with a very few exception, if we say that is a tropics which is at the 23.5 degree latitudinal range to the 23.5 degree south, north to the south, you will see tropics harbor more species than the temperate or polar region, only with few exceptions. Compared to polar areas, you will see maximum number of more number of species in the tropic region. And if you take some of the examples, the first example you can see here that Colombia, which is located near the equator, which has nearly 1400 species of the birds, while New York, which is 41 degree north, has a 105 species, whereas the Greenland, which is 71 degree north, has only 56 species. So here you can see that to near about equator is has a more number of bird species, but as we are they are moving towards the pole, the number of bird species are increasing. from Colombia to the, we can say, the New York to the Greenland. In this, India is considered as one of the important one, as with much of its land area, if we see, is in tropical latitude, and it has more than 1200 species of birds, because India is a majority part of it is in a, or we can say our country lies in the tropic region. When we talk about another example of a forest which is present in the tropical region, which is called Ecuador. If we talk about this forest which is present in the tropical region, that is Ecuador, which has a 10 times as many species of vascular plants, means pteridophyte, gymnosperm, and geosperm. These vascular plants are species are 10 times as forest of vascular plant as a forest. That is, if the forest tropical area is taken in a temperate region like Midwest, the USA, then compared to this temperate area region, that is Midwest of USA, you will see that in tropical region Ecuador there is a 10 times more vascular plants are found. So these are examples are showing that near the equator you will see the more species diversity. Away from the equator you will see the less species diversity. Now, the largely tropical Amazonian rainforest in South America has greatest biodiversity on Earth. Greatest biodiversity you will see in the Amazonian rainforest in the South America. Okay, so which is the greatest biodiversity on this Earth. It is also known that this Amazonian rainforest, if we talk, has more than 440,000 species of plants species, then 3,000 species of fishes. Okay, then you will see 1300 of birds, 1300 species of birds, 427 of mammals, 427 of amphibians, 378 of reptiles, and of more than 1,25,000 of invertebrates. This many species of, we can say, the different organisms are found in the Amazonian rainforest, and this is showing a richness of the diversity in the Amazonian rainforest. And this rainforest might have at least 2 million insect species yet to be discovered in them. Okay, so we remember scientists estimate that this rainforest, Amazonian rainforest, might be has at least 2 million insect species that are going to be discovered and named. Okay, so this way you will see the pattern of diversity in the latitudinal gradient. If we talk an altitudinal gradient, you will see such this. Now, here the important thing which we have discussed, that a tropic show a greater diversity. Now, what is the reason for this? If we ask this question, then what is the reason for this? Then we can say tropics have a, or why biodiversity is reintropic. If we talk, then the ecologists and evolutionary biologists have proposed various hypotheses to explain the cause of high diversity in tropic. And if we talk about that, some of them are given is here, and the first one is this one. It is said that speciation is generally a function of time. Means with a time, a new species can evolve. Unlike temperate regions, okay, in temperate regions which are subjected to frequent glaciation in the past, and tropical latitude remains relatively undisturbed for millions of years. So the evolution is a function of time, obviously, but in temperate region these disturbances are coming continuously, and it has happened because of this. The long time it was not available for any species to evolve, and if any new species get evolved, then also it is going to be lost due to this frequent glaciation. Whereas tropical latitudes have a constant environment, because of this they remain undisturbed for the million of years, and thus the long evolutionary time for a species diversification is observed in the tropical organism. So the tropical regions are more diverse. The another reason is that tropical environment is less seasonal. Means proper seasonal variation you will see in the temperate regions, not in the tropical regions, because tropical region have more constant and predictable environment. We can predict, and tropical region promote a niche specialization, means they function properly, what promote a specialization of their tolerance power and their capacity or their work or their profession. And due to this diverse niche specialization and diverse work, they lead to a greater species diversity. And due to this, you will see this, due to constant and predictable environment, a large number of species are found in the tropical regions. So first is a speciation, frequent glaciation in temperate, but not in the tropical, so have a long reversional time. Second thing is the tropical environment is less seasonal and predictable. and more constant. And another reason is that there is a more solar energy available in the tropics. Near about equator, you will see more availability of solar energy, so which contribute to the higher plant production and higher productivity. That in turn might contribute indirectly to the greater diversity, because if the food production is more, the organism will be dependent on which there can be more. So because of this region, we can say the tropical regions have a larger diversity compared to the temperate regions. Now, one more thing was explained here in the pattern of biodiversity, this is species area relationship. Okay, now we have understood why tropics have a greater biodiversity. Now, dear student, one more important thing is that is the species area relationship. And species area relationship is saying that species area relationship is saying that, which was given by the Alexander von Humboldt. And Alexander von Humboldt observed that Alexander von Humboldt observed that within a region, species richness increases with an increase in explored area, but only up to a limit. If we take one region and we increases the explored area, the species richness or the number of species that are going to be increased. But it is up to the limit. Why? Because the other factors are going to be limited. Now, this Alexander von Humboldt was a German naturalist and geographer. Be remember, German naturalist and geographer. And it is considered that Alexander von Humboldt, if we talk, then he shown this thing that with the increasing explored area, the species diversity can increase. Now, in fact, the relation between species richness, the area for a wide variety of taxa, that is angiosperm plants, in fact, the relation between the species richness and the area for a wide variety of taxa, that is angiosperm plant, birds, bat, fish, it turns to be rectangular hyperbola. You can see here this. As we are increasing the area, as we are increasing the area, the species richness is also increasing on this log scale. But if we showing this one, then it is showing a rectangular hyperbola. Why it is showing a rectangular hyperbola? Because after a certain period of time, in a particular area, the nutrients are going to be limited. So this is rectangular hyperbola. Okay. Now, if we talk about the relationship, it is a straight line on the log scale, and that is explained by the log s is equal to log c plus z log a, where s is going to be a species richness, a is area, z is the slope of line, that is the regression coefficient, and c is the y-intercept. Okay, so these things are given in this particular curve. Now, this is a particular log scale. On the log scale, the relationship is going to be linear. Now, ecologist if a dog has discovered that the value of z lies in the range of zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.2. It is known that the ecologist known that the particular this range lies between the zero point 0.1 and zero point 0.2, and regardless of the taxonomic group or the region, regardless of the taxonomic group or the region, that is going to be this one. Now, if we analyze the species area relationship among very large areas like the entire continent, the slope of the line will be much steeper. That means the z value in the range of zero point 0.6 to 1.2. And for a frugivorous, that is a fruit-eating birds and mammals, the tropical forest of the different continent, because the area is going to be explored, so the slope are going to be 1.15. Okay, so here slope of regression or regression coefficient of a species area indicate the species richness decreases with the decrease in area. If we decreasing the area, the species richness is going to be decreased. If we increase the area, the species richness is going to be increased. Okay, so this is the what are particularly shown in the species area relationship. Okay, now after this, the question is, what is the importance of a species diversity to the ecosystem? We are talking now till now about the species diversity, and we are talking that diversity is increasing. Now the question is why it is increasing. Obviously, question is why it is increasing and what is the importance of this particular diversity to the ecosystem. So if we talk, it is known that the community, it is known that the community with the more species, the community with more species is more stable. The stable community should not know a much variation in productivity from year to year. Stable community should not show such variation in productivity from year to year. It must be resistant and resilient to the occasional disturbances by natural or anthropogenic agencies. So first, the number of species in a community really matter to the functioning of the ecosystem because rich diversity is important for the stability, productivity, resilience, the capacity to recover, alternative pathway, and the health of the ecosystem. And first thing is the stability. And it is known that community with the more species is more stable. And stable community, if we consider, that should not show much variation in the productivity from year to year. And it is must be resistant or resilient to occasional disturbances by the natural and anthropogenic agencies or alien species. Another is ecosystem health or balance will be severely affected by a species extinction, particularly keystone species. So it must be particularly this thing, and it must be resistant to the invasion of the alien species. So ecologists considered if the communities with the more species tend to be a more stable than those with less species. So what is exactly the stability of a biological community? That can be explained by this particular thing. Now, apart from this, one scientist, that is a David Tillman, also talked about this stability. And he considered a long-term ecosystem experiment using outdoor plots. What did he do? In outdoor plots, in outdoor plots, he performed a series of experiments. And when he performed a series of experiments in outdoor plots, a long-term experiment, he observed that plots with more species showed a less year-to-year variation in the total biomass. Means which has a more species that shows a less year-to-year variation in the total biomass. Whereas the increased diversity contributed to higher productivity. If we increase the diversity, it is going to contribute a higher productivity. Okay, so this is the reason. Because of this, it is shown that the diversity is more important for stability as well. Apart from this, the ecosystem health is also important. And river poppet hypothesis explained the ecosystem health. And if we talk about ecosystem health, then it is known that and it is often believed that little harm would occur to ecosystem if a few species become extinct. There should not be a much difference if one of the tree frog species is lost forever from Western Ghat ecosystem, or a number of ant species reduced from 20,000 to 15,000. Apparently, there might not appear any difference for some time. However, rich biodiversity is not only essential for ecosystem health, but also for the survival of human race on Earth. Diversity is also important for the survival of the human race. So, it is because of this a large number of species have a higher number of niches, the more interaction, more interrelationship, and more stability. So, because of this, the particular large number of biodiversity is there, then it will help a human population as well. Now, in this, Paul Ehrlich was a scientist who given and who explained this dependence or effect of reduction in a biodiversity that is explained by Paul Ehrlich by the Rivet-Popper hypothesis. So, what this Rivet-Popper hypothesis did? Explain the reduction, explain the effect of explain the effect of reduction of biodiversity. So this reduction lead to what? That explained by this one. Now, Paul Ehrlich explained by giving a river proper hypothesis where he taken an example of an aeroplane or airplane. In an airplane, if we consider one airplane as one ecosystem, if we consider it, in an airplane, all parts are joined together using thousands of rivets. So if we talk about the rivets or screws, that are considered as a species. An aeroplane is the whole, we can say what? Aeroplane is the whole ecosystem. And there are thousands of rivets in all parts of this airplane. If every passenger traveling in it start popping a rivet to take home, if every traveling person trying to pop up a rivet to take home or can cause a species to become extinct, it may not affect a flight safely. That is the proper functioning of ecosystem initially. It is not going to affect the particularly flight. But as more and more rivets are removed, the plane becomes dangerously weak, and over a period of time, it is going to be damaged. So, furthermore, the rivets which are removed may also be critical. The loss of rivet on the wings, so the rivets which are present on the wings, that is considered as a key species. So, if there is a loss of rivets or a removal of rivets from the wings, then they are the key species that drive the major ecosystem function, is obviously going to give a more serious threat to the flight safety than loss of a few rivets on the seats or window. If the rivets from the seats or windows, if they get removed, only seat or window is going to be affected, or only one seat is going to be affected. But if you remove from the wings, the key species is going to be affected, and that are going to cause a one tough, we can say, effect, a serious threat to the particular this biodiversity. Okay, so this is the what we can say about this ecosystem health and stability are the two reasons. Because of this, the species diversity of the ecosystem is important. Now, apart from this, it is also considered that species which are dangerously harmful to human being and their interest can be thought to deliberately extinction, that is the HIV, smallpox virus, plasmodium, etc., that are going to be too harmful. So such pathogens are not part of any food chain or food web. These organisms have no role in biocontrol. They are neither producers nor decomposers of any ecosystem. Therefore, their extinction would not affect so these are dangerously affecting, and they have no important role in a food chain and all this. So if they are going to extinct, they are not going to affect anything. Okay, so the extinction of this species would not affect the functioning of the ecosystem in any way. Poliovirus, we know that it is about to get eradicated. Efforts are continually made to make a world free from the diseases like TB, AIDS, malaria, hepatitis, diphtheria, tetanus, etc. And now one more added, that is a corona. Okay, so these all are going to be extinction. So if these species get lost, there is no harm, there is no problem. Okay, so that is what about the particularly way why this diversity is important. Okay, dear students, so in this we have discussed about the what ecosystem health, stability, species relationship, and patterns of biodiversity. All this we have discussed. I hope you understood well. Thank you, everyone.